We guess many users have always looked forward to the Meizu Note lineup. The M1 Note, also known as Blue Charm Note in China, started it all. It boasted a big screen and an overall great package for the price. The M2 Note simply widened the LTE network coverage and enabled memory expansion. The latest Meizu M3 Note builds upon that with a faster processor, a bigger battery and a more premium, all-metal design. The Meizu M3 Note keeps the 5.51 1080p display for a third generation in a row, but does well to move on to a more potent Helio P10 chipset backed up by a 4100 mAh battery. The rest of the more prominent features are inherited from the M2 Note: a 13MP main camera, 16 or 32 GB of expandable storage, LTE connectivity, dual SIM telephony, and a clever and useful home button. Just like its Pro 5 and Pro 6 siblings, the M3 Note incorporates a fingerprint scanner within its single hardware key at the front. But the biggest and most welcome change is surely the premium all-metal design, which improves the looks, hand feel and build quality over the plastic shells of the first two generations. Interestingly, the Meizu M1 Metal already demoed most of the features the M3 Note is now introducing, but its patchy availability was a problem. Hopefully, that's not an issue for the M3 Note, so let's move on to what we're really getting. There are very few notable omissions in the Meizu M3 Note, and fast battery charging is probably the one that stands out. The Android version is fairly recent, but, frankly, the lack of Marshmallow might actually become an issue down the road. Considering Meizu's OS update record, the M3 Note isn't too likely to get upgraded. What comes across as a less capable GPU than the M1 Metals is something we'll pay due attention to in the relevant chapter. Of course, we are going to try and address all of the key features and potential deal breakers as we go. So, let's get to it. Our habitual hardware overview follows right after the break. The Meizu M3 Note is an upgrade that doesn't go above and beyond, quite typical of the Chinese maker's phablet lineup actually. The M2 Note didn't make a splash but offered meaningful add-ons such as the wider LTE coverage and a microSD slot. The M3 Note in turn refines the design with a metal unibody and 2.5D glass, while trying to take performance one step further with the Helio P10 chipset. The clever M-Touch button with a fingerprint scanner is a welcome feature as well. To be fair, the Meizu Notes are targeting the budget-conscious crowd, and that restrained upgrade routine is more than justified. Yet, somehow none of the more recent Meizu phablets have been able to match the positive impression of the original M1 Note that sticks long after its debut. It was a powerful yet affordable smartphone, with a great display, capable camera and solid battery life. There's yet another sibling though that's hardly doing the M3 Note any favors. The Meizu M1 Metal was launched a few months back and instantly made a statement with its premium design and better performance thanks to a Helio X10 engine. Just like the M1 Metal, the new Meizu M3 Note goes for a higher tier bodywork but, in contrast, fails to deliver a matching performance. The M1 Metal is superior in both processing power and graphics. The only thing the M1 Metal cannot possibly match is the impressive battery life of the M3 Note.